thedailymass.com. Experience the Roman Catholic Mass from historic St. Louis Cathedral every day on thedailymass.com. His love, anywhere in the world.
Good evening. I'm Sarah McDonald.
And I'm Jason Angelette. Welcome to Issues in Faith.
Well, the Family Life Apostolate of the Archdiocese has restarted a project post-Katrina. It's taken them a little while. But we've now had 2 editions of the Coffee Cup newsletter with the Archdiocesan Family Life Apostolate. It's been very well received, and people are really kind of excited about it.
Fantastic. How can someone get their hands on something like this?
Well, the Family Life Apostolate has a mailing list. So if you're on their mailing list of about 250 people, so it's small at this point, you'll receive it in the mail. But we've sent out about 50 to 100 copies to every parish within the Archdiocese.
Fantastic.
So they just appeared in the parishes last week. I'd encourage everyone to look for it in the back of church. If you don't see them there, contact your pastor, your parish secretary, see if they can make one available for you. It's really a very, very good read. And
what does someone find in such a good read?
Well, this newsletter is themed on family. As we've said before, the Archbishop has asked for 2013 to be a year of family and faith, tagging on to Holy Father's year of faith that he's called for.
Fantastic.
And so every article in the newsletter is based on different themes of family. And one of my favorites, and I love my family, we host Thanksgiving dinner at our house for the last couple of years. We get along fantastically for family holidays, and we don't have any of that angst, or not as much angst as some families I find have during holiday season. But one of the better reads was actually preparing for the holidays and prevent that angst.
Yes,
and
good.
And how you can do that, but also about coming together as a family around a kitchen table. There was a Deacon Dave Farinelli with the Family Life Apostolate wrote a testimonial about how important that time around the table was with his daughters and his wife, and all of those different types of things, talking to your family and just really focusing on family life. The first edition we did a couple months ago focused on the services available through the Family Life Apostolate. This is much more of a practical application.
I think this is a great time. You mentioned this with the Family Life Apostolate, and then talking about coming together as a family, and then also to helping families to see. Sometimes it's good to talk about the game and how the football teams are doing and stuff like that, but to really reflect as a family and to cherish and talk about family and what it means to be family and what's important for the family, and so that the families can use this opportunity when everybody's together to build in faith. And that sounds great. I can't wait to get my hands on those resources.
It's definitely, like I said, if it's not in the back of your church, contact your parish. If you can't seem to find one after that, you can always call the Family Life Apostolate. I'm sure they'd be happy to make one available for you. And eventually we hope to get an email list that we can start emailing them out, and you can request them via email. We're not there yet, but it's a beautiful piece. It's very well done. People who've seen it are very impressed with the writing and both the design, and we're very grateful that we're able to make this resource available to families in the Archdiocese.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about it. That sounds fantastic. November's Adoption Awareness Month, and joining us tonight to talk about the local Catholic Church's effort to promote adoption and support mothers is Dana Cousins, Program Director of Catholic Charities Adoption Services.
Dana, for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
Well, adoption is a very multifaceted process. You're working with birth parents, you're working with adoptive parents, you're working with, at times, the children who have been adopted. What type of resources and support do you offer to birth parents who have chosen adoption?
We try to offer emotional support to birth parents, but also to adoptive parents and to the children that are ultimately adopted. We provide that through case management and counseling services, both prior to the adoption plan, but also after the adoption plan.
And are there any sort of medical resources or referrals that your agency makes for mothers who may be struggling with, don't have health care or things like that through the Adoption Services Program?
Yes, our case manager works with the birth mom on her individual plan. If she's not already receiving prenatal care, we work with her to get in with a physician to get whatever medical care that she may need wherever she is in her pregnancy at that point.
And the focus of most people in society is on the birth mother, and obviously that's where the focus does lie. But do you have any interaction often with birth fathers in the adoption process?
Our goal, we'd love to have the birth fathers involved, and you're right, very often the birth father isn't involved. But for the birth fathers that are involved, we try to have them come to appointments, to be involved in the counseling services, perhaps to be participating in the doctor visits if they can be. And for those that are involved, they're typically involved. They're coming when they can. We've had birth fathers that are participating in the counseling services. They're participating in visits with the children after the adoption plan is made. But the goal would be for them to be involved as often as possible, certainly.
That's good, and it helps them, as well as the birth mother and the birth father, understand like the process and the responsibility of being a parent, even though they've made this choice.
To understand the process, but also for their child to understand the other piece to this puzzle.
Yes, and that's so important, and sometimes what causes some of the issues down the line.
The questions, yes.
But we're talking about the birth parents. How involved are they, or can they be, in the adoption process or selecting the adoptive parent?
Yeah. Our goal is that they are 100% involved. Ideally, they will be choosing the adoptive parents. They will be looking at adoptive parent profiles. They'll be selecting the family, perhaps meeting the family, perhaps having ongoing contact with the family. A lot will depend on that particular birth parent and what their comfort level is. The adoptive parents are open to meeting, they're open to having ongoing contact, exchanging pictures and letters. With technology today, many of them are having the telephone calls, FaceTime, computer time. There's just so many more options available today than there used to be. So that's the goal, but it's up to the birth parent as far as what type of contact's going to be established, and also keeping healthy boundaries at the same time.
Sure. And so what kind of process do adoptive parents go through with your agency?
Well, the first step is to request an information packet, and right now is the time to do that. November is National Adoption Awareness Month, and so for Catholic Charities, we open our adoption questionnaire list during the months of November and December, and families can call it any time during November or December to get an information packet, a questionnaire, and what's called a comfort level assessment. Okay. It gives us an idea of where the adoptive family is coming into, what is their adoption readiness, what are they open to as far as perhaps special needs of a child, what is their comfort level with open adoption. And so they call, they request it, we meet with all the families, get to know them a little better, give them a chance to ask some questions. For many of the families, they may know about adoption, they may have family members or friends who have adopted, but they may not know the ins and outs of Catholic Charities program. Sure. So it gives us a chance to sit and talk with them, and also some privacy for them to ask the questions that maybe they haven't had the comfort to be able to do that in. Sure. So yeah, we'd love for families to call. This is the time to do that.
That's right, and exactly, the role's open now. The profile of a family that comes in to adopt, do you see families who maybe already have children coming in wanting to be there for, specifically for a special needs child, or do you have more families coming in who have not been able to have their own children? What do you see with the families that come in?
All of the above. Families are all types. We have stay-at-home moms, we have working moms, stay-at-home dads, working dads. Some families have children, some families have biological children, and there was a different plan for the children that followed. Some families live in the city, some don't live in the city. It's every type of family, and that's what's really important about the program. Every birth parent is different also, so there needs to be a very diverse group of families that birth parents have as a selection to choose from. So yeah, it's every imaginable type of family, and it's great. It's great to work with families like that.
And every imaginable type of child, I would imagine, because you're dealing with both international and domestic adoptions, correct?
Yes. We provide home study and post-adoption services for international. There's an international agency, and there's a country that we're meeting the requirements for both of those. Okay. But we're primarily providing the home study and the post-adoption services for those.
So that's very top of mind for a lot of people, with a number of Hollywood actors and celebrities choosing to do that international adoption piece. So I know a lot of people, when they think of adoption, they don't always think that there's a baby maybe in the next city that might need a home, they're thinking these broader adoptions. So you can provide those connective services.
Yes, and same thing. They don't have to call in November or December to get home study services for general home study. They can call at any time during the year for those services. But it's just the home study and the post-adoption services. And I say only, it goes beyond that, because for some of these countries, I'm following children for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So it just depends on what's required at that moment. Sure.
And speaking of following the children, you mentioned you have case management services for the broad spectrum of the parents, the children, the adoptive parents. A lot of people may have concerns about choosing adoption because of some of the messages that are out there about the negative effects. What are you finding as someone who's worked in the profession for a long time, worked with a lot of different families? What do you find is the reality of families who choose adoption?
Yeah, I want to think that we're the norm. Maybe we're not, but for me, it's over 20 years, and we've seen a lot of changes in adoption. Historically, adoptions were very secret, very, very secret, and lots of efforts were made to maintain that secrecy. So what we see is that things are more open now. Adoption is freely discussed. We're seeing children really as young as 3 talking about it.
Wow.
It may be through pictures, maybe through a little photo book, but it's still their story. This is my birth mom. I grew in her tummy. This is my mom, who is the adoptive mom.
Right.
This is when they met the first time. I'm using a little more adult language for it, but they're telling it through stories, but they're telling it. We're seeing children in grammar schools. If I do presentations in grammar school, all the hands go up. They all know someone who's adopted, and they all want to tell a story about what they know about that adoption story. It's great. 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't maybe necessarily the case. So children are talking about it.
And parents are talking about it.
Parents are talking about it, and they're talking about it before they adopt. Years and years ago, no one maybe knew someone was adopting. Now parents are saying, you know, we're thinking about adopting. Where should we go? Who should we talk to? So by the time we meet with families to discuss adoption, they're coming into our office saying, well, we know someone who adopted through the program, or this is my family's member experience with adoption 20 years ago. How is this different? So it's been very enlightening to meet with families and talk about their experiences as well. We hope that's where we're going in the future.
Sure. Well, it's very life-affirming, and I think it's an important point to point out within Catholic Charities. Adoption services is under the pro-life services. Because it is a choice for both the birth mother, the birth father, the adoptive parents, the child, everyone to have that life-affirming decision.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Dana, for your work. And you mentioned you've been at this for 20 years.
Yes.
Touched a lot of families, made a huge impact and huge difference in the lives of many families, brought them a lot of love and joy, I'm sure.
It's a tremendous, tremendous job. I can't imagine doing anything else. It's a fabulous place to be.
All right. Well, thanks again so much for your ministry.
Thank you.
Once again, Adoption Services of Catholic Charities is a domestic and international adoption program. Services include counseling, legal and medical assistance, and follow-up. For more information, call 504-885-1141 or call toll-free 1-866-566-1399. And we'll be right back.
It's happening in schools and schoolyards. A timeless tradition is rekindled with every new class, in every new face. In Louisiana Catholic schools, learning goes beyond textbooks and testing. Students are embracing faith, values, leadership skills, and of course, a classic history of academic excellence. Invest in success. Louisiana Catholic Schools, a class of their own.
Three Catholic schools in the Archdiocese joined forces and joined hands for Mass as they asked for God's blessing on their schools. These particular schools have formed an alliance that has seen them through the literal and figurative storms of life. Janet Gross takes us to the Max Mass.
Their uniforms are different, their school allegiance is different, but their faith is the same. And that's why they're here.
My sisters and brothers, welcome to this historic day when we come together as Max. St. Mary's Academy, St. Aug High School, and Xavier University Preparatory School. We come together to celebrate together.
Three schools that pitched in to help save each other after Katrina. The storm devastated St. Mary's and St. Aug, and of course scattered families from all three schools. The administrations quickly realized they needed each other, and the students needed them.
They were really thinking of providing, again, an opportunity for the youngsters to be able to be in their traditional setting as much as possible, and we didn't want to lose them to places outside of New Orleans.
So they united to become MACS, still 3 separate schools, but together in purpose, and they weathered the storm.
That kind of set the groundwork for what happened a short time ago, when again we came together to form a consortium to talk about our needs and to see how we could share our resources so as to maximize the offerings for our students.
In the future, we plan to share some of the resources that we have that involve curriculum with teachers that are able to teach advanced placement courses in one school and are able to share that resource with the other schools. So that's the kind of consortium effort that we're looking at. And then community efforts that if we were to do something in one school, we could probably combine the 3 schools and have a much larger voice in the community.
And getting together to celebrate this Mass celebrates that solidarity as well.
I think it's great that the 3 schools are coming together, because you never know when you're going to need someone, need each other, and I think it's a great opportunity that we could be together as one, all 3 schools.
Yeah, it shows that we come together, not only as Catholic schools, but the city of New Orleans. We also represent the city of New Orleans as, 3 of the major schools in New Orleans, and, it shows unity.
We are brother and sister, so, when we get together, our education is furthered, and the schools that we go to, we can soon work together in the future. The seniors, we can get to know each other and, hopefully do projects and such like that in the future.
Nearly 1,500 people, shoulder to shoulder, standing for each other before God.
So we come together today to remember that you and I are called to be like Jesus. That we are called to talk the talk and to walk the walk.
Walk the walk is the example these school leaders hope to set, sharing resources and gifts God has provided.
And today's Mass is special. I think it's truly, truly special because it reunites, it recommits, it reconfirms, and it tells everyone in this community that you can work together, you can make it together, but you have to have the effort and you have to have the willpower and desire to do that. With the help of God, everything is possible.
I give myself away.
They share a history of cooperation in these schools, and today they come together to ask God's blessing on the future. I'm Janet Gross for Issues and Faith.
While they did form the MACS school, they remained separate with their own identities, with missions and goals. But their cooperation helped them survive after the storm and promises to help them grow in the future.
I'm here today inside historic St. Louis Cathedral, a place where WLAE has broadcast the daily Mass for more than 25 years. A recent PBS ruling ensures that this valuable service will continue on WLAE for those looking for daily inspiration, and for the many who are homebound or in our area hospitals who can't attend Mass. But in order to continue to provide the Mass every day, we need your financial support now more than ever. I'm asking you to please consider donating today. We have numerous partnership opportunities available. For as little as $32 a month, you can help fund the televising of the Daily Mass, a program that lifts the spirit and enriches the lives of so many of our viewers. And for a donation of $50 or more, we will send you this beautiful signed poster of St. Louis Cathedral as our gift. Please send your contributions to WLAE-TV, 3330 North Causeway Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana 7002, or to donate online, log on to WLAE.com and click on the picture of St. Louis Cathedral. For more information on partnership opportunities, call 504-866-7411. At WLAE, we've worked hard to keep the Mass on the air. Now we need your financial support to keep it going. I know that you'll help us if you can. Thank you, and God bless.
The wait has spanned decades and lifetimes. It was some 80 years ago that the founders of Xavier University dreamed of a freestanding chapel for students and faculty. That dream has come true, and now thousands who travel I-10 through New Orleans every day can see it for themselves. Janet Gross has the story.
They've always wanted this, a freestanding chapel at Xavier University. St. Catherine Drexel, who founded the school, actually designed one herself.
If you think about it, the other building was already designed by Catherine Drexel, and then she had to defer it when she got sick. So we waited and waited and waited, and here it is. And that's faith, big time faith.
St. Catherine Drexel Chapel is now a reality. Its more modern design, created by world-renowned architect Cesar Pelli.
I have known this building for many years. I have it deeply engraved in my soul. But today, when I walked in, I was elated. I just felt my soul going up straight to heaven.
He says St. Catherine Drexel was his inspiration, and it was actually Dr. Francis's son who put the project before Pelli during a chance meeting in Idaho.
And he just took enough of gumption to say, you ever think about building a building and a chapel in New Orleans? He said, my father's a president. And so Mr. Pelli said, well, we'll think about it.
Katrina got in the way a bit, but the commitment continued, and the $10 million chapel now sits in the heart of campus.
And how appropriate it is, as you walk into the chapel at the very entrance, are written her very words. O Lord, grant that we may love you the way you deserve to be loved.
The roof of the octagon-shaped structure slants to take advantage of natural light. Inside, it is lined with a screen that allows that light to filter into the chapel.
It's sitting on the highway. You can't get into New Orleans without seeing it. And everybody wondered, what is this building? Until on Thanksgiving Eve, we put the cross on it. And they said, oh. And everybody's going to wonder, is it going to be a green roof?
You know, Xavier has distinguished itself by painting all of his roofs green. So I thought, this being a church, it would be very appropriate if this was a natural green that was achieved. So that the copper, when it was just installed, it was bright like a penny. Then it has turned dark brown as it is now. In about 5 years, you will start seeing hints of green. In about 10, 12 years, it should be very bright green, a natural green.
They can wait for that. They've waited a long time for this. Some 80 years of plans and dreams come true.
And it is a place where faculty and students and guests will come in order to pause in their lives, to be in the presence of God, and to draw strength and wisdom from God himself.
They honor the past, are grateful for the present, and hope for the future in the new chapel, and ask God to bless it all. I'm Janet Gross for Issues and Faith.
The commitment to build the chapel came in 2000 with the canonization of St. Catherine Drexel. There is a direct sight line from the chapel to the building where Pope John Paul II spoke during his visit to the campus in 1987.
If you have a question for us or an idea that you'd like to see on air, please write to us at Issues in Faith, 3330 North Causeway Boulevard, Suite 345, Metairie, Louisiana, 7002. Or you can email us at questions@WLAE.com. Plus, if you miss an episode, you can catch up online at www.archdiocese-no.org.
And that's our program for this evening. For all of us at Issues in Faith, thanks for watching.
We'll be back next week. Hope you join us again soon. Until then, God bless.